Yo, what's going on? Welcome back. I hope everything's going well. So I want to make a beat today, but while we do, I want to focus on something specific, and that is the importance of keeping it simple. I've talked in the past about how some of my favorite beats that I've made have come to me really quickly, and you're just kind of in that groove, moving and just letting your creativity flow. And I think that's a really important thing to do when you're making music. I've found that sometimes when you make music for a long time, and you gather a lot of gear and you come up with these certain techniques with getting a certain sound, you get overly focused on what you want that final track to be, and you have this equation to create that. And that can sometimes just get in the way of your natural ability to come up with something and to make something you like. I don't have a crazy amount of gear, but I have gathered things as I've continued to make music, and I do find all those things really useful. But the times I feel most in my element is when I just have a record player and a sampler. It's what I first started on, and to this day, it's what I enjoy using most. So in order to try to keep it simple and just stay creative in the beat that we're making today, I'm going to try to not get too caught up in coming up with different beat chops or trying to get really specific and minute about the drum programming. I just want to let the ideas flow and see what we can come up with. So I found a Rhodes sample on this record by Chick Corea, Return to Forever. I definitely recommend checking it out. Chick Corea was an amazing musician and has a ton of great jazz, fusion, etc. to listen to. One of the tracks has this Rhodes intro where all that's playing is the Rhodes piano, and I'm thinking if we put that on the MPC, it'll be easy to come up with a pattern, and we can just really let that rich texture of the sound lead us into the beat. So I'll record it onto the MPC, chop it up, and we can start making a beat. Let's do it. And the sample that we're going to be using today is on the track Crystal Silence. Make sure you check it out. So I have the sample recorded onto the MPC, and I have all the chops laid out as well, but I just wanted to show how I chopped this sample, because the sample was just the Rhodes being played freely. There isn't necessarily a steady tempo, so I didn't just do a sort of beat chop. As you can see by all the chops here, I kind of was just trying to find certain sounds that I found inspiring rather than just trying to find something that I could rearrange. So I'll show you what I mean. Some of the samples are really short, some of them are a bit more longer chords, but they're just chops that will just kind of give us nice ingredients to play. So here's a few examples. As you can see, that's just a really short note, so it would be sort of a nice pickup, whereas one like this maybe. They're just different sort of lines that are played on the Rhodes. So in order to chop a sample like this, you really just have to envision what you might want to do, find things that seem like they might sound nice in a sequence, rather than just using the typical tempo of the track. Because I love the texture of the Rhodes sound so much in this sample, another thing I really like to do is slow it down and pull down the semitones, because I feel like it just really enhances those textures that you get. And then the last thing I just did to organize our sample chops, because this isn't going to be a consistent tempo, we'll have to just try to find a few chords. I always will color code the longer samples, and then so the ones that aren't color coded in red are going to be those sort of pickup notes. And that will just make it a little bit easier to come up with a pattern. But with that being said, I have the BPM set to 84. Let's try to come up with a really simple loop, and we'll just really let the sample control the vibe, and then we can start working on this beat. Let's do it. So I found these two chops side by side that I think sound super nice. Here's how they sound. And again, this is literally just two pads, but I think these two chops will be a great jumping off point for a beat, and it's something that we can really vibe to. So I'm gonna lay it down and then we can keep it moving. And now that we have those two sounds laid down, because we color coded all the long samples in red, that means all of the short samples don't have a color coding. So let's find one of those short samples and just use those as a little pickup note. That way it'll just be a really small variation. Let's do it. I'm really loving the this simple pattern so far. It's giving us a ton of space to just really enjoy. And one vibe I'm really getting from this sample and this sequence that we have so far is that we really need a drum break. If you find that sometimes you struggle with coming up with drum patterns, or you feel like the patterns you do come up with, they just don't feel quite human enough for you, or they don't have that natural sound that you're looking for, nothing can beat going with a live drummer. Drum breaks are definitely at the heart of old school beat making, and I think sometimes just getting back to that sound is super, super valuable. I bought a couple drum break sample packs from Drum Broker a couple weeks ago by J-Zone. I originally heard about J-Zone because I heard Mark Ronson mention him in this video he was doing where he was making a song. And if you're looking to increase the size of your drum break collection, I think it's a really great place to go. These J-Zone sample packs, they really just sound like they were recorded in the late 60s, early 70s. They're just really great recordings, and he's a really great in-the-pocket drummer. So I'll grab a drum break from one of the packs, and let's just add it onto this beat because I think it's going to match super well. I'm really loving this beat right now. The vibe is just really great and it has such a good texture to it. So I'm just going to copy the drum break, and then we can make another sample chop pattern and keep this beat moving. We'll have another sequence to go back to. Let's do it. I'm loving where these sequences are at. I think it's time we can add in some bass into this. When I add the bass into this beat specifically, I don't want to do a pattern that's too ear-catching or adds to the melody. I just want it to be something that adds a little bit of width. So it'll probably be a very few number of notes, but it will just be something to add to the richness of the sound. So let's see what we can do. The bass I'm going to be using on this beat is from my sample pack, The Lowdown. If you like how it sounds, it's free on my website. Make sure you go download it. I think this beat's in a really great spot, and because we kept it pretty simple, we have a lot of room to play with now if we want to add on a few little spices. So I'm thinking what we do now to give it that little bit more of a push is to add on some sort of maybe sound effects or some stabs or something that will just give it a little bit more and will be less than just those two sequence loops. So let's see what we can find. I'll see if I can find something that matches the sample well, and then we can wrap this beat up. Let's do it. I think that wraps it up for this beat, and I hope this video showed that sometimes you just have to get back to basics, go with the sampler, a sample, and just let it kind of move you. Sometimes we can definitely get lost in trying to get the best sound, the best sequence, use all of these different tips and tricks that we've come up with over the years, but sometimes you really just have to keep yourself in the moment in order to get that beat that really resonates with you. If you liked the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. As always, really appreciate you for hanging out and making music with me. I hope everything's going well. Love you. Peace.